If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
By popular demand, we're using our weekend shows to broadcast some of our most liked and commented on interviews from last year. The ones chosen have had excellent feedback from our listeners. If you've already heard this interview, I'm sure it will bring back memories of the education you appreciated, and if you haven't listened to this episode before, then please enjoy.
Today I'd like to introduce you to Bierman. Now, Lee's a level 3 dressage coach. She's also a Grand Prix rider, Grand Prix trainer and Grand Prix coach. So when she was young, she set this goal for herself, and we're going to talk to her about her journey through that. Along the way, Lee's also been a teacher. She's been a university lecturer within equine studies. She's been on the state and national team and has just come back from a trip to Argonne. So how are you, Lee?
I'm great, thanks, Glenys.
Great. Lee, can we start off just telling me a little bit? Now, I know that you set yourself a goal to be a Grand Prix rider, Grand Prix trainer, Grand Prix coach. When did you set that goal?
Probably when I first started dressage. I did pony club for a long time with Wynnum Pony Club and fanged around doing bending races and rode for the Queen doing a bending race, actually, which was very exciting. And I did some camp drafting and endurance riding and eventing and then I discovered dressage, and from then on it was an addiction.
Okay.
It was once I discovered it that I decided I wanted to go to the top 3 levels.
Okay, that's good. Now, what about your favourite quote? Have you got a quote you can share with us?
My life quote, I think, is always choose happy. We all come to a fork in the road at some stage where we can choose to be happy or not to be happy. And I think we're responsible for our own happiness. And when we're given that choice, I think we should aim to choose happy.
Okay. And is there one particular time that you've decided to choose happy rather than not choosing happy or having another
many
choice?
Many times. I actually exercise it probably just about every day when I can. and when I'm feeling overpowered, I try and think, well, what will make me happy? What part of this choice will make me happy? And I try and follow that road.
Okay, that's good. All right. Now, you've chosen a career with horses. Did that come at the same time where you said, right, I'm going to be a Grand Prix rider, coach and trainer?
I think I chose a career as a teacher very early on. My mother used to tell me stories about when I was 3, I always wanted to play school, and I always had to be the teacher even though everybody else was 6 and 7 years old. So I became a teacher first, and while I was studying, my riding sort of had to take second place because like a 4-year university course to get to where I wanted to go. But I had horses from when I was about 15. I bought my first horse. And as soon as I got into my teaching career, I started to incorporate the two and actually introduced riding into the sports curriculum at Toowong High School, one of the very first schools to have riding as part of their curriculum.
That's great. Yeah, very innovative. Now, if someone's going to get into a career, if someone's going to say, right, I'm going to be, have the same goal to be a Grand Prix rider, trainer and coach, or even if they don't set the goals quite as high, what sort of core skills do you think that they need to be able to do that?
You need a major work ethic because it's all work.
Yep.
And people who aren't addicted to horses don't understand why you're willing to work so hard.
Yep.
So I think you need a work ethic. You need an open mind so that you can take on advice from people who know more than you. And you need to stay humble. You need to accept that there are people who know more than you. And for some people, that's a major stumbling block, unfortunately.
I think those are really good core skills to have, yeah. Okay, now say someone already has been working in the horse industry for a while and they say, right, I'm going to set a goal or I'm going to do something to excel in my career. What do you think are the keys to them excelling? They've already got a work ethic, they've already got an open mind, they're already humble, but what makes them better than everyone else around them?
I think it's the absolute dedication, and I think to stay enthusiastic, to always think you can do something better. There's always somewhere to go. You haven't actually reached the end of the path. I know in my coaching career, I've coached some people who are extremely talented riders, but have never gone to the full potential of their talent because the drive just wasn't there. I think you need the drive. You need people around you who recognise that drive, and you need to make the sacrifices, sometimes social life or a new car or whatever it means, moving away from your family so that you can progress.
Okay. Now, tell me about, and I know you're going to say, oh, there's so many, some people who've influenced you and helped you learn more about horses, and not just who's influenced you, but how they've influenced you.
There has been a lot, but I think it's pretty easy for me to pick out the main influences. One was Kev Wallen, who ran a riding school down at Wynnum, and that was the first time I had unlimited access to horses. I used to go down in the bus, walk 2 kilometres and go and work at his riding school before I even owned a horse.
Yep.
After that, I think Gul Wadia, who was my first dressage coach, and she instilled in me the love and respect for dressage training, and that stayed with me, and still to this day I use some of her quotes. My favourite one is nonchalant but be vigilant. So when you're riding, you have to look nonchalant but be vigilant so that you're able to do it to the best of your ability. And more recently, I think Andrew McLean, once I started to look into the work he had done, suddenly a whole lot of the things that I was doing made sense, or I changed it. So I incorporated the science behind what I was doing.
Okay, and Andrew McLean is an earlier guest on our podcast, so if people want to find out a little bit more about him, they can go back and look. I think it's episode 3.
And I think the other influence has been every student I teach. I think if you have an open mind, you can learn something from everyone, and I'm forever picking up things from the feedback I get from my students.
Okay. Now, talking about training tips for people, but what do you think's the most common problem for a dressage rider? It may not be the most common, but one that you find that you're having to fix all the time, and you might have a unique way of teaching people to improve this, something that you're looking to improve.
I think the most common request when people come to me, and I think to most coaches, is they're having problems with the contact. Okay. Everybody wants to know how to make the horse more round and how to get the horse on the bit. But if you look at Andrew's training scale, contact comes in as 4th. If you look at even the German training scale that we base all our training and training of judges and coaches, it goes rhythm, relaxation, then contact. And my own system, I go line, gait, and then frame or contact. So to try and convince people that you don't start trying to put the horse's head down, you start first with trying to feel how the horse moves, adapt that movement to what you need, and most of all, being able to put the horse on a set line. And I think that was one of the things I brought back from Aachen when we did our judge training over there was, yes, the quality of the paces was very important, but equally important was precision. And that was really something that our training judges sort of drove into us. You must be precise, because if you can put a horse on a line, it shows 2 things. It shows that you know where the line is, and that's important if you're going to go and ride a dressage test.
Yes.
And that you also have enough control that you can steer a horse onto an exact line.
Oh, that's good.
And what I've generally found is if you work on the line and then you get people to think about, and people have to make that decision before the horse takes its first step, exactly what line do I want this horse on? And you're making that decision over and over and over in a training session.
Yep.
Then the next thing you decide is what gait. So if it's going to be trot, which trot? Working trot. And then is this my best working trot? And I've found that 9 times out of 10, when people have the correct line and the gait that they wanted to have, the contact looks after itself.
Yes. Yep. Oh, wait, before you go, if you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. All right. Look, you've had many horses. How many horses have you taken to Grand Prix?
I've taken 7 through to FEI and 4 to Grand Prix.
Okay, yep. Of all of those, and it may not even be one of those, which is the horse that's influenced you the most?
Cadenza, I think. Lovely grey mare. I just as they say in the ad, I wish I knew then what I knew now. I think we could have done maybe even better, but she was just a magical horse. And I had her from breaking in and then sold her, and Emma Flegman took her on to a position on the national squad. Yeah, she was just an amazing horse. But you learn something from them all.
Yep.
Every horse can teach you.
Yep. All right. And we've talked about people who have influenced you. What about a book for our listeners? Have you got a book that you'd like to recommend?
It's probably going to sound a bit strange. Of course, Andrew has wonderful books and people, and now you have access to videos and DVDs and whatever, which is sort of a more popular choice. But I think the book that influenced me most was Tom Roberts.
Okay.
And I think he was around a long time before Andrew, but most of the stuff that Tom Roberts produced and espoused is the absolute basis for what Andrew now also teaches. And his first book was Horse Control and the Young Horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if everybody could get a hold of that, their riding would go a long way. Could I just tell you, I think, one of the quotes from that book?
Yes, please.
And I think to me this embodies everything you ever need to learn about riding and training. He asks this question right in the first page. If there's a drawing pin, a thumbtack, sitting on a chair with the sharp bit pointing up, and you sit down on it, why do you jump up? And just about everybody says, because it hurts. And his response to that is, no, because it stops hurting if you jump up.
Yes.
And that's everything about pressure release, operant conditioning, timing, everything you need to know about training and riding is in that simple little analogy.
All right. Lee, what does the future hold for you now? Have you got some horses on the way, some riders? What are you doing now?
Well, I've had this stupid cancer battle and the consequent treatment battle, which is why I'm coughing at the moment. I'm unable to compete at the moment, and I don't know if that's going to change. I've just got lung issues, so I haven't got enough air to warm up and then ride a test. I'm lucky to have a lot of students around me who are out competing and enjoying their training. Some of them are on my horses. Lisa Jones is riding Volkensom. Pernilla Anderson is riding JD Pardon. And another student has bought a horse I bred. Alex Murray has bought Harley Germain.
Yep.
And they'll be stepping out next year.
Okay.
And then I've got other students on their own horses, Carissa Airy, Kerry McDonald, who I'm really happy with how they're going and really pleased to see them developing not only as riders but also as trainers, and as trainers with a clear understanding of pitching their training to how a horse learns rather than doing anything by force.
Yep.
So I'm really happy and enjoying that. I'm also judging, which keeps me out of mischief.
That's good. All right, look, that sounds pretty exciting. Now, if people need to contact you, how can they contact you?
Probably the best way is email or phone or text. I'm the queen of texting.
We can put those details on the show notes page on horsechats.com. So if people need to contact you. Now, just before we say goodbye, can you sum up into a lesson today so that people have got something to go away and think about?
I think every time you get on your horse, think about that you're stepping into the office and you're sitting at the desk, and so is the horse.
Okay.
You're not stepping into the office and fooling around at the water cooler.
Yep.
So I think you have to put yourself into the frame of mind, okay, this time I'm going to spend training. And then thinking line, gait, frame. Make all those decisions for every single step you take.
That's a great lesson for people to go on with. Thanks, Lee, and I'll talk to you another time.
Okay, thanks very much for the opportunity, Glenys.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, wait, before you go, if you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.